These are poets to come with a very distinct voice of their own. Avinab Datta Areng, Basudhara Roy, Kumar, I'm so sorry, Shobhana Kumar and Tuhin Bhowal.
Delighted to be reading here with my fellow poets. So we thought we'll do a couple of rounds of each of us reading one of our poems and see how much time we have going. May I request Avinab to start, please?
I'm going to read some unpublished poems read yesterday. Mongoose with Prey. This has gone on for too long. He keeps dragging the chicken in his mouth away from light, waiting for the right spot, some sense of peace. Shadows of fronds moving in wind unsettle him. Everything must be right for him to tear into the flesh, for him to feed. Something is always not right. I hear the canal gushing louder than usual, muffled screams from the narrow lane. A coconut falls on the grass, startling us both. He looks up and sees me, our hunger now indistinguishable. This has to end. He knows this before me, lets go of his prey, disappears into the thicket, leaving me. What I could have done. I shouldn't have been here or anywhere, still standing at the window, unable to move on, make a decision, find my way. Yeah.
So I'll follow Abhinav's lead, and even I'm planning to read a couple of unpublished poems. Both the titles of the poems are similar. So the first one is called Pleading for the Subtle. Pleading for the subtle. You mistook Sohra for a person, the way the pout of your lips coil, pronouncing wound with a V. 5 years, and I practiced imagination gingerly. And yet, differentiating absence and excess in desire. For what? The hands move. Each night you pay heed to breathing as though all homes are under fire, and at that thalweg, water is running, a throat still 17. Much of poetry is an anguished waiting, said Rothka. Your mother remembering a conniving love lost somewhere in the streets of Lokhandwala, and I trying to etch the indentations on your face at the edge of my termite-ridden doorway of my room are both happiness. We are relieved of the future to be present in this tense. Evenings lose count, but years don't. What does she think of love now? The girth of 2 hands or a fist? When I remind my mother there is a new tax levied on curd now, she jokes, but we make our own. For decades, my father slept with a dictionary of difficult words beside his bed. Pursued by denial or knowledge, I could never tell. Was he learning new words or erasing old ones? What is the purpose of meaning in abetting memory? That ancient fickle game no one knows how to play. For 25 years, I have been roused by meaning, but the direction towards meaning. The beetle crawling on a park bench in Cherrapunji against the backdrop of the Naukalikai never wanted to transform into a man. You have different eyes, which is to say now, no, you look differently at the world. 5 years, and I have practiced imagination perversely. a shade lifted under those lashes and vanished in a bundle of trees, quietly, like fear-stricken horns of an antelope veering through grasslands. Even a whoosh of the wind's throb at the hearts of prey. You warning me I am a difficult person is also happiness. If the world indeed laughs and flowers, why are sunflowers so expensive? Our quandary with love is that we are too terrified of it. Here, hold my hand. Scared is just sacred misspelled. Somewhere outside Meghalaya, there flows reverse waterfalls in the world. Has nature already resolved the paradox of gravity? Not able to translate the movement of your hands in the dark is also happiness. Resplendence as virtue of beauty, not of its difficulty. We're lonely everywhere except between the silence of an enjambment. We forget who we are there. Meanwhile, I adding to my hobbies, making love to you underwater, peeling oranges naked, one in each hand. Imagine that. You going for a walk is why philosophy still has uses. The unity of opposites, a poet had reflected. Your one leg, Parmenides, the other, Heraclitus. I feeding you, hungry. Camus said true love occurs roughly about 2 or 3 instances a century. Good gracious, he had the looks. If you could argue against the sincerity in friendship, why can't I? I walk out of my room, watching you through the balcony, raising your arms, pointing at the moon. It is hot now, humid and raining. You practice rhythm to move. I yearn rhythm to stop. You allude and laugh, fresh and pleased. We have no past for once. The sky is an uninflected blue, and the air is gentle around you, a hymn, a ballad, like a canticle in verse.
Thank you, Avinab and Tuhin, for those wonderful poems. I'll be reading from my third collection that's called Inhabiting. And the poem I'll be reading is a feminist ghazal. In your coat-taut silence, I brood of light. The genesis, conscience, habitude of light. Hewn in me are your first lawgiver's edicts. I'm Shatarupa to Brahma, a lute of light. Everywhere I go, I'm met only in parts. Valva to tongue, shred by a crude of light. Raised in annexation to your hunger's fire. Manipur to Hathras, a vicissitude of light. Each plundered robe decries my trust. A dhobi stoned, a dice, a lute of light. I speak Janaki to the earth's adobe womb. Surpnaraka, Nangeli, my lost food of light. In faith, I exile in your continent of want, belatedly discovering the latitude of light. Your mirrors invite me to drink the dark. Each time I confront your intrude of light. In all love poems, I question your intent. A taj hemorrhaged by a prelude of light. Neophyte still, we cling to history's ribs. Betrayer and betrayed, a delude of light. Thank you.
I'm going to read a piece that talks about the demands of propriety on widowed women. So it's called Pattu Pottu Poo, for P, widowed at 17. Pattu, silk. In the rustle between warp and weft, girl turns tendril, turns flower, turns blossom. Pottu, vermilion, at the center of the forehead, separated only by brow, she sits, proud proclaimer of ritual, mirror to the earth, sun, moon, a dare that defies as easily as it deifies. Poo, flower, a lesson in resilience born out of fragility, birthed anew from fragility. Silk, vermilion, flower, first forever gifts from mother to daughter. It is the wedding thread that may break halfway. Hand back the Mangal Sutra if you will, but wear these proud.
Beheading my mother. I wanted to make you a garden so I could sulk into the seeds. Your faith made me furious. I hid my anger among the amaranth, shoveling all day at the backyard while you kept buying flower pot after flower pot, stacking them along the stairs your father built until there were no more steps. Walking up every time, for some reason, I can never look at them, as if I'm crossing a gallery of your most intimate thoughts. I read his diary. I read what he thinks of you. What he thought of you then, he thinks of you now. I bought him another one so I could see the extent of one man's hate for his savior. In my mind, it was mythical. It dissolved the classics. In the evenings, you give me a hand, treating the dirt like a stillborn, bent over, pretending to sing a song you don't know the words for. And for a moment, I can't see your head. As the light keeps dimming, I can't see how any of this has been allowed to go on.
Before I read this poem, I think if there were a scenario where I would have been asked, or I would be asked, that I could keep only one book of poetry and I could not keep any other book of poetry there, the other books of poetry would cease to exist, I think that would be the collected poems by Jack Gilbert. So the epigraph is after Jack Gilbert, but it's more of a dedication. This is called Pleading for the Little, after Jack Gilbert. Bombay was a sea link emanating from a face along the shores, a fishing net guzzling every fish at the coast and their third floor apartment a few flat miles into the city, convexing into that precise but only horizon. Somewhere. Many straight lines can also form a circle. Too many. Twittering gutters, gossiping, back roads hot, imperfection of birds and a park or two here and there as an anomaly to architecture. Dante's irrelevance to lust at 17, quainter than the 13th century. Unending coastline of caricatured buildings flashing from a 90s video game where the few people live above the great roofs. A small balcony to the west. I greet crows arriving to cheat the rain. I must admit, I never wanted to be that alone. We do not tell each other when beginning to cry. We remember laughter as the equity to our bafflement. On the wrong side of this island now, some nights there are no people, no cars or fruit sellers or street lights, no poverty, only a noose of death. Only a woman of faith in pristine white chanting prayers from a memory. Urdu's ambrosia swilling sonic dreams, her mouth warping into a voice to the underworld. And the father's photograph from a dressing table goes missing like ekphrasis from a failed ekphrastic. Then that ring suddenly, appearing in this third decade with no tongue, corrugated and ornate, the gold still brittle and yellow under fields of staggered summer sky, and the Arabian relentlessly. No trees, and yet this monsoon, its reticent waters, her mother there deveining prawns, I burning tea, Joey sitting down on the chair to read.
Thank you, Tuhin. So I'll be reading a poem that's called Rules for the Rape Republic. When they come for you, know there is no way out, and that they will stop at nothing short of digging in you a tunnel to fathom their own murky darkness. Don't scream. The chances are that to a sadist spine, every scream is wine. Blindfold yourself. Open wide, play dead. Jump up the moment it's done. Gather your stuff, leave. Cease to think of your body as copyrighted flesh. Understand, it is ground designed for plunder. Look at it as a table where questions of caste, class, language, religion, even education must be decisively settled through excavation. It isn't about desire, clothes, confidence, recklessness, lack of wisdom, or even about lust for that matter. It's simply about habit, their need to assert. Ignore the intrusion as one ignores flies. Don't talk to the papers. Walk. Keep walking towards the sun. Remember, honor doesn't blossom between thighs. It cannot be nurtured or plucked overnight. Breathe deep, thaw. Rejoice, there are no limbs severed, no acid on your face, no iron thrust anywhere deep. Rejoice, you live. If, however, they have already set you on fire, that part's going to be a trifle problematic. The ruins won't speak, you see. It will be difficult to conjure from ashes the story of gags, rips, mauls, thrusts, to discover trails of blood semen branded on thighs. On the brighter side, your clothes will retain dignity in death. Burnt to cinder, they will be free from scrutiny of form, length, texture, color, will spare your character of assault. Your invasion confined in you. You will live forever chaste in memories. Yet, after every cremation, will haunt a disquiet. Thank you.
Thank you, Basudhara. So we fight every day, right? We have our battles, but there's also so much we cannot fight for. So this one is called The Things That We Hold Our Silence For. A neighbor's domestic argument spilling into the kitchen counter ever so often. A caged dog with no space in a 4-bedroom Spanish-style villa with 5 cars. A litter of kittens and their mother in the corner of the road. An overflowing community dustbin that is an amalgamation of all things rotting and all that never will. Conversations on democracy that don't open their front doors. A city lake slowly eaten by hyacinth, the swollen udders of a cow stifled by an overdose of lactating hormones, bulls that must fill themselves from landfills, trans women at a junction, children with balloons to sell to fill tummies that will never know fullness, a smog-covered sky forever blotted from the blueness of childhood, concrete that has left 100-year-old tree stumped, old couples learning to bond with themselves, homeless men, homeless women, the guilt of privilege, the inability to call out subservience to power, boundaries with loved ones we know we must never cross, headlines corrupted by TRPs, family secrets, secrets of friends, secrets of our own. We have time for one short poem each.
Domesticity. It's morning, but the vendors are already breathless, drinking water with deadly concentration. These men know they'll be saying the words all day. I think I don't. Sometimes a scurrying rat, like an unwanted god, makes them look skyward. I am arranging my medicine box, maintaining for now a good distance from the husks of sleep. Soon I will blow them away to the sound of a drill driving through wood and liken it to the vicarious thrill of being trepanned. I'm waiting for the bell like a pill, keeping my mouth ready, clear of weeds, the ghastly wedding of synapses that often pulls my own hands towards my throat. What about the heart? It's not a room. The air is a solace of wires. It anchors the screams. It lends the illusion of travel. On a terrace, an old man squints at the sun, as if trying hard to pay attention to his genealogy, to the point at which a rupture occurred. A pigeon, vulnerable, thinks he's in hiding. He bloats himself up, trying to eclipse his eyes with his body. What I abhor in me begins its slow swoon from a great height. Pigeon, we are mistaken again. Be brave for us. Stay still and watch it pass. Chance casts a shadow across the tenements. The only predator here is prayer.
You should go on. Both my poems were long. I think you should go on.
Okay, I'll read a very short poem and it's called Not in Your Tongue. This language, you remind me, is yours. Hustler, I may have arrived, but only to add to the swelling procession of your glory. Coded, highlighted, hyperlinked, this war of words, you tell me, is one I will never win unless I change sides. Fight on your behalf. Ask my people to submit. Surrender to your imperial bust my many-limbed sovereign dreams. Having framed the lung and the lexicon and claimed paternity of meaning is yours, you dismiss all stakeholders. Undeterred, we steadily march along. Great Burnham Wood to high Dancenane Hill, our numbers shielded by trees. If you're still looking for a prophecy, watch connotations like continents shift and signs slide into abysses under your feet. Thank you.
So since it's lunchtime, I thought we'll end on a lighter note. All of us know how tough it is to be a working woman and also a working poet. So this is called How a Poem Write Itself for a Working Mom. A verb gets in the way of an overflowing laundry basket, sending lines to hang out to dry. Words sputter along with the tadka in a hastily put together dinner. Pencil tucked in the knot at the nape of the neck, The one word that this poem was waiting for disappears in a quagmire of grey, peeking through a month-long overdue burgundy tone 3. Finally, when the cat has gone to bed, the dog fed, family all tucked in, the poem begins anew. The adjectives seem a tad too pretentious, the noun not nearly enough. The punctuation is a halfway cross between the kingdom and America, forever wondering whether one must go for the right or the easy. Finally, after a few attempts, the poem slips into quiet sleep. It arrives faithfully the next day amidst a 3,000-word deadline. Oops, sorry, perhaps another time, dear.
Thank you.
Thank you all for your patience. Thank you for your listening.